There it is. There's the bell. Bring it. Bring it. Press the button. Come on, man. There it goes. All right, folks, check it out. Monday, right? Markets closed. 98 lower on the Dow. It was down a lot more earlier. Tried to make a comeback. Was up a couple hundred points at one point. Ends 98 lower. S&P down a little bit fractionally. NASDAQ down 133. Not very much movement there at all. VIX up a little. Again, that's the volatility index a little bit. Concern for the market, just a touch. Gold up $100 an ounce. Look at the gold price, folks. Look at that gold. We talk about it all the time. And as you know, I'm a major gold bug. Oil, this is some really good news. Over the weekend, OPEC came out and said they're going to produce more oil. And note they did that for Trump, okay? They weren't doing that for Joe Biden. They did it for Trump because Trump pushes for lower oil prices. $57 a barrel. I will tell you, off the top of my head, I'm going to say closer to $90 a barrel, the average price for crude oil under the Joe Biden presidency. That lower oil price will translate later, 45 days down the road, into cheaper gas prices, cheaper everything prices, food prices, fuel prices, plane ticket prices, maybe even rent prices, believe it or not. Everything is tied to the price of oil. Okay, folks, earlier today I spoke with Sheriff Mark Lamb. He truly believes in the Constitution and the rule of law. He says leaders and elected officials need to be held accountable and that we need men and women who put the border, crime, the economy, and national security first. Take a look. Appreciate your time. Very busy guy these days. Sir, before we get into some of the border issues, and I want to talk about AOC's lunatic ideas, but Donald Trump, just a couple days ago, mentioned he wanted to reopen the Rock. He wanted to rebuild and reopen Alcatraz. Man, it just rings so true. It makes a guy like me just so happy when we think about reopening one of the toughest prisons America's ever had. Your thoughts?
Oh, I love hearing it too. And I'll tell you, Eric, thanks for having me on, first of all. But this guy is a marketing genius. He understands really how to set fire to the liberal media as well across this country. I think it's a great idea. We don't have enough space for all the beds. We don't have enough bed space for all the people that came into this country illegally, criminals, all of that. I think it's a great idea. And certainly Alcatraz has a certain aura about it that I think sends a clear message to people that are here in this country illegally.
I'm pretty sure no one ever escaped from Alcatraz, no matter how many movies they've made about the escape from Alcatraz. But it does hearken to what's going on recently, Sheriff, and it's with the illegals that Trump was trying to export, and judges are getting involved. And then Bukele from El Salvador says, you know what, I'll take them. Let me take them. And there is a stark contrast between the way prisoners are treated in El Salvador versus the way we kind of, treat them like, little kids here in America. Your thoughts, and just talk about that a bit, about the way we treat hardened criminals here.
Well, absolutely. And not only do we treat hardened criminals with kid gloves, we treat illegals even better than those people. So we used to have an ICE contract at our jail prior to me becoming the sheriff. But one of the reasons we got rid of it was because the requirements for ICE were far greater than what the requirements were for American citizens. I don't think most people understand that when you go to jail, I have a legal responsibility to give people 2,800 calories a day. Plus, I've got to provide them with a whole bunch of other stuff. I think most Americans are not aware of that. We have American families not eating 2,800 calories a day, and we're giving this to our people that are committing crimes. But even furthermore, we've got an even higher bar for those people that are in this country illegally. It needs to change, and Tom Homan has assured us as sheriffs that will change.
AOC has been slamming the Trump administration. She's on some sort of fight the oligarchy tour, and she flies privately, from stop to stop, and she lives in very luxury hotels in the meantime. But she's calling the Tom Homan and Trump's deportation, she's calling them sanctioned kidnappings. Your thoughts?
The hypocrisy of these people. Sanctioned kidnappings. The previous administration allowed 140,000 children, unaccompanied minors to come in every year. And then we, the government of the United States, turn them over back to those same cartels and those same traffickers. And now you have her going around saying that they're kidnapping people or children or whatever she's doing. Like, I don't think anybody puts a lot of stock into what AOC says in the first place. And the more she talks, the more she proves that she shouldn't be there in Washington, D.C., representing the American people. But she should start by looking back over that previous administration and just that oligarchy and how they wanted to change America. And they were doing it by allowing illegals to come into this country. And they were responsible for the kidnapping of a lot of children and women into this country.
Sheriff Lamb, I was just reading over the weekend that the Trump administration, says it costs about $17,000 to deport an illegal for whatever reason, to incarcerate them, get them out of the country. There's a program that they're talking about, and they may have instituted already, where Tom Homan says, "We'll give you you're illegal. We'll give you $1,000 to self-deport." Now, listen, I love everything Homan's doing. He's a rock star. He's locking down that border. My concern is, what's to stop an illegal from taking the $1,000 American taxpayer check, going across the border, proving he's on the other side of the border, and turning around, walking right back in? I'm trying to figure out if I like this program or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I like it either, but I like the idea that they're thinking outside the box. And you're right, they'll probably take the $1,000, go across the border, and then just come right back. We've got to do something creative, though, and that's why I like this creative thinking. And it does cost a lot of money. Most people don't realize, for me to send out 3, 4, 5 agents to go and round a couple people up, every one of those agents is making, $50 an hour. That adds up really quick. Not to mention, you take them into a facility, you give them 2,800 calories a day. All of that starts to add up. So there is a cost where we have to then say, is it cheaper to pay somebody to leave than to continue to harbor them here in this country, or to house them in this country if they've committed crimes, which I think people should pay for their crimes before they're sent home. But I'm like you, Eric. I'm not sure that I love it, but I like that they're thinking outside the box and coming up with some other ideas.
Well, everything else they're doing is working. Sometimes you have to let's take a look at this. Let's not lock this thing into a long-term commitment if it's not working. AOC also said that illegals, if they're stopped by agents, ICE agents, to say, "Stop, you need a warrant for you to take me to go any further." What are your thoughts on that? Is that even a thing?
No, that's not a thing. There's something called probable cause. If we have a belief that you've committed a crime, we can move it forward. And if the federal agent is stopping them and they are here illegally, they've committed a crime. And so they have the ability and the authority. And this is the danger of where we're going in this country. What the left is trying to do with Kilmar Obrego Garcia and with some of these other people is they are trying to bog the system down with this due process that they keep talking about. They want everybody to go through it. Where were they for due process when these people were coming in literally unvetted and unchecked into this country under the previous administration? But this is the danger of what they're trying to do. They're trying to bog the system down to where everybody that's removed from this country has to have a warrant, or they have to go through some due process, or all these things, when the executive branch has the authority to take these people and remove them because they came into this country illegally in the first place.
I mean, the most interesting part of this back and forth is Homan heard that, and he said he's going to defer AOC to the Department of Justice. And then she says this. Take a listen.
First, in one of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections, and he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Come for me, she says. But, she's wrong about so many things. She said that Trump is deporting everyone, not just illegal. So come for me to the Department of Justice. I'm going to guess it may not end that well for AOC.
No, it may not end that well. And she doesn't understand that there is free speech in this country. You can say what you want, but it doesn't absolve you of consequences if you break the law. And the law says clearly, in USC 18, I can't remember exactly, 1304, I think is what it is, or 1324, says that you cannot conceal, harbor, or shield people that are here legally from the U.S. government. And she is really walking that line. I think she's crossed it many a times. So she has certainly put herself in a position where she is either violated or right there about to violate that law when she talks like that. But free speech does not save you from the consequences of breaking the law.
Incredible. This is the hill she wants to die on, I guess. Kamala Harris died a miserable presidential death on that hill as well. Sheriff Lamb, really good to have you. I appreciate your time, and keep going. We got to get you back with a badge and a gun again, real quick. I know you got the gun. We got to get that badge on your chest again soon. Sheriff Mark Lamb, thank you.
I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you. And you look good, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the beard, I think, like yours. All right, folks.
Talk to you later, brother.
Before we head to break, just want to remind you all about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. You can hear this show, of course, and tons of other content anytime, anywhere. But be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on a thing. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Well, there it is, folks. That's the live shot. Well done, Mad Dog. Live shot of Alcatraz, the Rock, as they call it, and because it's all rock. That's why I can't tunnel out of Alcatraz. And they say the iron bars on the cells have 6 levels of iron inside, all the way through. That's why no one's ever escaped from Alcatraz. Trump's going to rebuild it and reopen it. I'm looking forward to this. My next guest is an ally to President Trump. That is the understatement of the year. She adores President Trump. She works for President Trump. She supports President Trump. She's loyal to President Trump. And she says, in quoting, "I represent the base, and when I'm frustrated and upset over the direction of things, you better be clear. The base is not happy." Here to discuss is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. TG, really good to have you, my friend. So tell us, I woke up, I read that, and you're upset. Tell us what you're upset about.
Well, that's a message that resonated with everyone that I know and everyone that I've been talking to, and by the comments all over every single social media platform where my post was posted. The base agrees. You see, the November 2024 election was historic. It was a mandate. And it was also a hard shot and clear message to the Republican Party that you didn't win this election. President Trump won this election. His MAGA policies won this election. And I would also argue MAHA policies won that election. So the electorate that gave the Republicans the majority in the House and the Senate want the agenda accomplished, and it's not happening. And Eric, when I'm frustrated, I can tell you it's an early indicator of what's to come. And I felt it was very important to get out in front and make that message clear.
So tell us, MTG, may I call you MTG? I'll call you Congresswoman, but we're close friends. I'm not being disrespectful. I adore you, and I love what you're doing. And your constituents adore you, too. What specifically are you upset and the base is upset about?
Yeah, there's some big ones, and I think everyone needs to understand. In Joe Biden's first 100 days, Nancy Pelosi sent 11 bills to his desk in that first 100 days, and one of them included their reconciliation bill, and they had virtually almost the same margins that we have in the House and the Senate, but they got the job done. In President Trump's first 100 days, we only sent 5 bills to his desk, and that included a Biden Democrat CR. Not our reconciliation. That's just one of many things. President Trump has written more historic executive orders than Joe Biden did in 4 years, and we aren't voting on those every single week here in the House, and we should be. The American people want to see us voting and passing his executive orders, because those executive orders that we support are only temporary unless we codify them into law. But let's go even further, Eric. We're looking at DOGE cuts, and DOGE is one of the most patriotic, important things that are happening today. And we should be passing those rescissions through the House and the Senate. And yes, they can go through because they only require 51 votes in the Senate. And so does reconciliation. But I want to go a step further, Eric, because there's big issues that the American people care about. One of them is Ukraine. We don't want to be tied into a never-ending funding situation with a mineral deal because we've been down that road before. In Iraq, it wasn't oil in the Middle East that made us rich. We're $36 trillion in debt. It wasn't rare earth minerals in Afghanistan that made America rich. Those were abandoned when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. And now being tied into a deal that we don't support in Ukraine is a huge disappointment. But if you read the language of the agreement, we're now responsible for the safety, the prosperity, and the reconstruction of Ukraine. And America didn't bomb Ukraine. As a matter of fact, we've been against that war pretty much from day one. So it's no more foreign wars we're not interested in. And then let's do something about COVID, Eric. The COVID vaccine is still on the childhood vaccine schedule. This is something that has moms and dads furious, and they are demanding that vaccine get pulled off the childhood vaccine schedule because their children shouldn't be required to take that vaccine in order to go to school, and many other issues.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to, the first one, let's talk about it. It really is important to get these executive orders codified. Why aren't they? Is it Speaker Johnson? He's not bringing. You have the House, you have the Senate. I mean, if you want to really scare the out of people, you got, 18 months, 20 months, and after that, you risk not having the House and the Senate, and you risk Trump's full agenda. You have to get all of this through in the next 20 months. I mean, where's the holdup?
Well, President Trump isn't on the ballot in 2026, and my Republican Party colleagues seem to not understand what that really means. And I'll be real honest with you. I'm going to point fingers at everyone. You know, I went to more rallies with President Trump, campaigning with him, supporting him. And I know what the American people stood up cheering for with tears streaming down their face. And that's Agenda 47. That's the agenda that he laid out. That's the agenda that he was campaigning on when he was shot in the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania, and almost assassinated in front of the entire world. And many of my Republicans here in Congress never went to a single one of those rallies. Many of my Republicans here in Congress didn't support him after the 2020 election, didn't support him after January 6th like I did. I never left his side. And I told everyone that he is our president and he will be our president again. So you see, the message that the American people sent seems to get lost here in Washington, D.C. And, you know, I think it should be like this, Eric. I think we put those executive orders to the floor and we dare Republicans to vote against them, because you know what's brewing up right now? Primary season. And this gives every Republican voter across the country a good look at their representative to decide, does this person represent what I voted for? And if they don't, they have a chance to change that. And that's the way elections work. So
are the Republicans, your colleagues, taking their majority for granted, so to speak? Because we did elect you guys and them and the majority to fulfill Trump's promises and agenda. And if it doesn't get done, if it's just, I think there's a big long vacation, a recess coming up again. By the way, Congress gets so much time off. It's crazy that the days that you are in session, you should be working your butts off to get, especially the amount of material Trump is giving you to get passed, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. 100%. I never had this much time off when I ran my construction company before Congress. No, here's the reality. I really think that there's a lot of jockeying and horse trading, so to speak, for people trying to get what they want shoved into reconciliation. And they're trying to say, here's what I will support, here's what I won't support. When the reality is, it's really easy for Republicans in the House and Senate. Just support what President Trump campaigned on and support what the American people voted for. And we get to win again in 2026, and we get another 2 years to help save this country. So it's not that complicated, but that's not how it works here at the Capitol. That's not how it works at all. Everybody works for what they want and what is their personal pet project. And I think that's holding a lot of things up. And as well as I think there's this kind of unwritten rule of not bringing bills to the floor that they're afraid will fail. And honestly, I think we need to break that rule. I think we need to put everything on the floor, because guess what? Our votes should be public record, and the American people should see what we will vote for and what we will not vote for. And, you know, that'll help maybe get things passed a little bit better when the American people see it.
I want to know who's not following through, who's not supporting Trump's agenda. We all want to see that. MTG, there's another issue that's bubbling up. Trump's trying to do what he's doing with the border and other things, and he's getting these activist judges, these Democrat activist judges, and the way to get them out is to impeach them at the congressional level. How and when are you going to do that, aside from all the other things that's on your plate?
Well, I think that would also definitely be a good vote record for the American people to see. I don't think Republicans would impeach these judges. I hope to be wrong, but I would like to hold that vote. And I think it would be important for America to see that vote, because let's be real honest, Eric, these judges that are blocking the president's deportations of criminals, cartels, murderers, rapists, child abusers, drug dealers, and more that are illegal aliens and really do not deserve due process in the United States of America. You know, there used to be a time where we would call that treason, because that's exactly what it is. And a vote on impeachment for these judges is exactly what we should be doing. And that's another a point on the list that people are upset that nothing is being done about these judges.
What final thought? 30 seconds, MTG. Give me the message to your colleagues. Just give me the direct message, speaking right to your caucus.
Yeah, the message is we aren't the Tea Party Republican Party anymore. We aren't the party of neocon Republicans. We aren't the party of globalism, and we aren't the party of eat the rich. It's real simple. We pass President Trump's agenda, and everybody else needs to get out of the way, because the American people didn't vote for you, Republican Party. They voted for Donald John Trump, and he's our president, and he has an agenda, and we need to get it done. Got it. We're going to leave it right there. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. I hope they listen to you, by the way. I hope they listen to you. Wow. Me too. So much going on. All right, folks. Before we head to break, I just want to remind you all about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. You can certainly hear this show, but also tons of other content anytime, anywhere. Be sure to subscribe now. Hit subscribe. It's free. You won't miss any content. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. I had the opportunity to speak with Rob Lauer. Now, he's the CEO of a thing called the United Spaceports Corporation, who's leading the space sector with the development of a new Las Vegas spaceport, which will position Nevada as the leader in commercial space industries. Take a look. Big fan of all things to do with space. And this story fascinated me when they pitched me the idea of bringing you on. I said, bring them on. I got to talk to you about this. I love this idea. So the idea, for the folks who are just joining, you're looking into the future, and you're looking to develop basically an airport for the next level space/airplane travel. About right? And tell me what it's going to consist of.
So we already have 240 acres or 10 million square feet, 31 miles from the Las Vegas Strip, surrounded by 100,000 acres of government land, where we have an approval from the FAA and the county to build an airstrip. That's step one. And then that'll break ground hopefully in about 6 months-ish, depending on regulations and so forth. After that, we're going to be filing an application to build a spaceport, have a licensed spaceport. And there's already 31 licensed spaceports in the country, but they're all government owned. They're owned by counties, municipalities. Ours will be the first licensed spaceport that's privately owned, focused on all the sectors, of course, but also trying to develop and create a space sector here in Las Vegas, in Nevada. And Nevada is just a natural place for this. We have, if you look on our website at United Spaceports Corporation, you'll see our leadership. We have Brigadier General Rod Navati from the Air Force. We have Colonel Dagger from the Air Force. We have Bradley Spacey. We have astronauts. We have investment fund people. So right now there's a tremendous amount of excitement and opportunity, I believe, in space and in that sector, frankly, because of President Trump and Jared Isaacman, who's leading the way. We have people. So
Jared Isaacman is going to be the next NASA administrator. But I want to. What do you guys do? In other words, what is this thing going to look like? Because what we're used to is a rocket going straight up. You know, the old days of the Challenger and whatnot. But this is, you're talking about space planes, right? They're going to have a runway. This is what we're looking at?
Well, those are quite a ways off. I actually believe the Falcon 9 rocket that SpaceX has been using now for several years is going to be available eventually to be used in an interior spaceport. So right now, there's only two facilities in the world right now, or in the US rather, where the rockets are being launched. One's in Vandenberg off the coast of California, and the other one's Cape Canaveral off the coast of Florida. And over there, about a mile away, is Space Force. And so a lot of people know that the Falcon 9 rocket takes off and lands. And I was on the phone a few months ago with the colonel who runs that facility at Space Force. He was telling me how 3 years ago, they'd have to evacuate the entire facility when they launched SpaceX rockets and recovered and landed. And now, 3 years later, they can sit there in his office and watch him take off and land. And over the last few years, there's been over 468 SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets that launched and landed successfully. So they have a 99.3% success rate, safety rate, for launching these rockets and landing them. And I think we're getting to a point where 2-3 years from now, we'll be able to launch rockets like that at interior spaceports. And we actually need them in order to compete with China and be able to get our satellites up there and our people and our cargo and our technology, but also on a national security level basis. I mean, if we, God forbid, end up in a shooting war with China, our facilities on the coast are vulnerable to hypersonic weapons attacks. So that's the first thing they're going to do, is knock out those facilities and try to cripple us in space, because satellites are critical infrastructure. You think about military satellites, but also you think about GPS satellites around our airlines, banking satellites, communications. We're probably on a satellite right now talking to each other. So our country relies on satellites as critical infrastructure. And as we go forward, that advanced technology is only going to become more and more dependent. And so we need redundancy. We need facilities like ours to launch and support satellites and people in the future.
Well, I was at Canaveral a couple of weeks ago watching the SpaceX NASA rocket take off, and fascinating watch it come back down, land safely. And my thought was that when I'm driving through there, there's a SpaceX, there's a Blue Origin, Amazon Blue Origin area as well. I mean, do you foresee that as part of your airport, so to speak, of all these bigger companies who are looking to do the exact same thing, maybe partner with the government, with NASA, to do exactly what you're doing, to launch satellites, to fix satellites, to send, I don't know, food into satellite space stations and whatnot? Is that what this is about?
Well, we're trying to create a whole new industry here with interior spaceports, provide support, of course, to the military, but also what a lot of these companies are doing right now. There's a lot of space companies that are creating these technologies, and they're overlapping technologies. They're inefficient. So we're trying to create the United Spaceports, a vertically integrated company that can manufacture, launch, and support those satellites, and not just to the military or NSA, but also the private sector. We just came out with the Black Star 1000 private military-grade satellite for private companies to buy at a price point of around $5.5 million all in. That includes a satellite that has a data center on board, crypto on board, cameras, direct communications, satellite communications.
For your own company. So you can launch your own satellite for your own company and be completely immune to hackers and whatnot, yeah?
100%. You know, that's why the government has satellites and their technology on board. They don't share satellites with China, right? So if you really want a secure environment, you need your own satellite. And that is the ultimate power.
Amazing. Rob, this is amazing. This blows me away. Companies can launch their own satellites for their own internal communications where no one else can access or share time on the satellite. It's just fascinating. I love this. Very quickly, because we do a little bit of market wrap at the top of the show, because it's 4 o'clock when the markets close. You're completely private. You're looking possibly to go public. What type of numbers are you looking at? How big is this venture going to be?
Well, we're looking to do a public stock offering sometime this year in the range of $120 million to build our facility. We're also looking to build spaceports in other parts of the world in order to bring American technology, and so Americans can dominate not just here, but around the world and be competitive. We're in a space race with China. So having facilities, let's say in Panama or Dubai or Saudi Arabia, makes a lot of sense, though, that we can capture those markets, work as partners with those countries, providing them satellites and support, private satellites. Like I said, everyone's focused on the military, and that's great, but there's a whole nother world of products that we can sell satellites to private individuals, private companies, for private data centers, and so forth. So we believe having that ability to access and deliver satellites around the world, the different facilities around the world, at the end of the day, is going to make us successful and give us market share, which is what I'm looking to do, is create market share and own this industry in a way that, obviously is critical to American success and being able to be competitive in the market.
Fascinating. The fascinating business, especially you said $5.5 million to launch your own or to own your own satellite as a corporation. That's a rounding error for some of the major corporations.
Well, a lot of these companies, you look at, let's say Experian, I think had a $400 million judgment against them for a data breach. So if we can provide them a satellite where they can store their data securely, that could preclude some of these data breach class action lawsuits and protect them.
Amazing. Amazing. Rob Lauer, really want to hear more about this as it goes forward. Congratulations on, the first leg of it, getting that 240 acres in Nevada and getting it approved for your project. Rob Lauer, we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, we will be back in 2.5 minutes. On this, we talk about a spaceport in Las Vegas, and you come up with a live shot of Las Vegas. Not even the Strip. That's amazing. That's probably that's what it looks like with their space. That could even be their spaceport property. All right, folks, almost couldn't believe my eyes when I saw 60 Minutes running another hit piece on Trump. I mean, Trump's already suing 60 Minutes and CBS for the Kamala Harris disaster editing of that interview from last year. Yet CBS still thought that airing another anti-Trump episode of this dishonest show was the right move.
It was nearly impossible to get anyone on camera for this story because of the fear now running through our system of justice. In recent weeks, President Trump has signed orders against several law firms, orders with the power to destroy them. That matters because lawsuits have been a check on the president's power. Many firms and attorneys have been targeted, among them Mark Elias, a longtime opponent of Trump, who is the only lawyer the president has named who was willing to appear on 60 Minutes. Elias and others are warning that Trump's assault on the legal profession threatens the rule of law itself.
Playing games, 60 Minutes, CBS, you're playing around, but as Trump battles with CBS both inside and outside the courtroom, our president refuses to pull any punches when it comes to the other corrupt left-wing networks that continuously try to smear his name. Here he is with a few words about who? The Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal. Dare I hear this?
Who are you with? Wall Street Journal. That's what boy, you people treat us so badly. Wall Street Journal has truly gone to hell. Go ahead. Yeah, rotten newspaper. You hear me? What I said? It's a rotten newspaper. I wouldn't tell the Wall Street Journal because it'd be wasting my time. There are talks, but I don't want to talk to the Wall Street Journal. But look, Wall Street Journal is China-oriented, and they're really bad for this country.
Wow, he told it. He told them exactly what he thought of them. Whoever thought it would be a good idea to invite mouthpiece Jazzy Jasmine Crockett to a college graduation, well, that person should be fired. Here she is talking specifically to black students, giving them some life advice about racism and how to handle it. Listen.
There are going to be people that tell you that you don't belong, and I am here to tell you over and over and over that you absolutely belong. There are people that are going to tell you that there is not a table in which there is a seat for you, but I am here to remind you of Montgomery and those folding chairs. Let me tell you that we know how to use a chair, whether we pulling it up or we doing something else with it. Let me be the first one to tell you that I know that y'all are ready to put your boots on the ground. That's your cue. There we go.
I have no idea what she was talking about with the chairs. We know how to fold the chair. Even the guy who was supposed to start when she was done had no idea it was his cue. It's like when Biden said, clap now. All right, folks, we have plenty to break down from Donald Trump's Meet the Press interview from yesterday, but I think we should start off with a clip from the sit-down that never aired. Here's Trump talking about Nancy Pelosi.
If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look.
Well, before we get back to Trump's interview, I couldn't help but bring you all a clip from Pelosi. She really has not been looking or sounding her best lately. Here's Crazy Nancy slurring lies about Donald Trump.
Out there. But this isn't about me. This is about our new leadership. It's about our courageous members of the House. We would never have had those bills without their courage. And too bad that the public, when somebody doesn't get a message, it's not because of them. It's because of us who are delivering the message, that we did not deliver it clearly enough. Especially since everything we did was for working families, to lower the cost for them of health care and housing, you name it. This guy comes along and says he's going to lower.
We could have gone on and on. She's like babbling. This is all over the place. Again, 80-something, 4 years. Term limits. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, term limits. Trump weighed in on the dysfunction and lack of leadership. On the left, he took a shot at our friend, Jazzy Jasmine Crockett, who, of course, is no stranger to taking shots herself at Trump. Here's Trump on America's lowest IQ congresswoman.
And you know what I can't name? I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. I don't know what they're going to do. And I really believe in a two-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. You know, it's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do.
You know, we've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for forever. But here we've been doing, who is the lowest IQ Congress? Let's say congressperson. And again, what comes to mind? Jazzy Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Presley, all the squad members, of course. I don't know. Mad Dog, do we have Bannon in a few minutes after the break? Do we have Bannon?
Yes, sir.
We have Bannon. Maybe we'll have to ask him who he thinks. I have an idea. I have an idea for Steve Bannon. He'll be back with us in 2.5 minutes after the break.